Okay, now that we have our totals done, we can begin to calculate this percent of total. So again, it's a formula, so we're going to say equals, and I want to take my annual spend. So for household utilities, I plan to spend $3,000 annually out of $17,950. So I'm going to divide by 17,950. Now again, remember, I'm not typing the values, the actual numbers in here, the 3,000 divided by 17,950, because that is a poor method of utilizing Excel. So I'm going to do what we tried to do in some of our previous steps here. I'm going to copy this formula down. I got it looking right. Looks okay. Oh no, I've got the horrible div 0. So what does that mean? This pound sign div /0 exclamation point is an error message. It's one of the error messages. So if you see anything that starts with a pound sign, that tells you that Excel didn't exactly like what you did. It's an error message. So we're going to take a quick peek at what this is, what's going on. So I've already shown you a couple of ways that we can see what the different formulas are. So you have, we could use the formulas and find that show formulas. We can double click in a cell and that shows you visually what's happening. So we're going to do that. We're going to do the double click. And you'll see the blue, which is the annual spend for that category, is dividing by 13. There's nothing in that cell. Okay, so I'm dividing by nothing. That is not mathematically possible. So you get this div 0. So what's going on with the next ones? Double click. Okay, so it moved down one cell to this line that I'm on, dividing by the next cell down. Interesting. Whoops, you got to be careful when you're in that double click not to select a cell outside because it builds upon your formula. It thinks you're trying to edit your formula. So let's go ahead and show these formulas and see if we can figure out what's going on. So you'll notice that each cell is updating by one row. So D3 is going to D4, D4 is going to D5, D5 is going to D6, 12 to 13, 13 to 14, 14 to 15. Okay, so I see what's going on. Every new row down, all of my cell references are moving down by a row. And all of those values, those cells that I'm dividing by, are 0. So that is my error. Okay, so I'm going to unclick here, and we're going to get rid of those because those aren't good cells, or those aren't good formulas. So let's make one that is identical. We're going to start it and say we're going to go to annual spend divided by the total. So I'm going to do a couple here. Okay. And now let's show those formulas and what's different and what's the same. So my row change for the first part of my calculation is updating 3 to 4 to 5, but my D12 is staying the same, which is what I want to have happen. So in this case, if I copy, because my cells are looking like this, and I'm going to show you what they look like when you don't want that to happen, you're going to have the D5 is going to update to a D6. My D12 is going to update to a D13. And that's not what I want to have happen. I always want to go to D12. So let's take this out. We're going to get rid of these again. And now I'm going to get rid of that as well. And I want to do this a slightly different way. So I want to select my cell reference, and I want that to automatically update as I go down each row. I want it to be the cell, that's that row that I'm on. But I absolutely, positively always want to go to the cell D12. So you can do that by locking that cell down, by putting in the $sign. So the $sign locks the column, the $sign here locks the row. So there is a fast keyboard trick, which is the F4 key on your keyboard. If you're using a laptop, you might have to use the function key, but you can always type them in as well. I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm going to copy that cell down. And I didn't get any of my div zeros. These look like they work, so let's go take a look at that show formulas. Notice what happened. So this first part of my formula, these cell references, are in what we call relative referencing. So every time I make a move to a relative referenced cell, it will update relative to the same move that I made. So I copied one row down, the cell reference updates by one row. Then I copied it down the next row. It will update to the next row, and so on. But the $signs, look what happened with the $signs. The $signs tell Excel that it will not, don't update this. I always, always, always want you to go to that cell location. So when I copied it, it remained as D12. So that's a really handy thing to know, and I will tell you that there are many people that don't understand the relative versus the absolute reference.